from the brief introduction we just had there, I will just want to demonstrate a little on how we go about this instrument. This is a smart application. We go into it, we set up the smart in our computer. When we set up the smart, all the parameters that we need to go into the field or in the forest, because like what I said, this helps us for cartography and for inventory. So we use this to map out all the farms, cocoa farms, because we are into community development, and we use cocoa as one of the products to help our farmers or the local communities to have their revenue. So this, we use it to map all the different farms where we can control and know all the different farms that are, all the farmers are going in for certification to come out with good quality cocoa. We also use this to go into the forest and get a stock of all the non-timber forest products. This is where we are intervening, where we have the communities that we are working with. The UFR 10,084, that's how we call it, at the JAR periphery. So this is what we normally do. When we go to this area, we do our survey, we work with our farmers and the women. Then this is how it goes to produce our map. I'll just explain. This is the conservation area. This is the periphery. These are the different buffer zones. Buffer zones, in French we call it the zone tampon. Then in this place now, SIMAD will help us now to, in this our area of intervention, we can map out those farms. Farms are inside. We can map out those areas where women go and get non-timber forest products, like that. So we used to have something like this. If you want to come out with a map, at the end of the day, we'll have a map like this. A map like this will have the villages that we intervene in, and there we'll have the different farmers and their farms located like that. So when we have all set up the SIMAT, we now export it. All what we have set up, we now export it to a handheld device. We call this Rumbo. There we have a GPS, where now we go into the field, get particular GPS points of all those farms, and we now enter them here. We now come to our system now and now come out with a map. The map now will now direct us on all our different farms. The same, we also set up the different parameters for the non-timber forest products. We have our different types and stuff like that. So we now export it into our system here, into our handheld device. We go into the forest. We get the different point locations of all those non-timber forest products. We get them here, and now when we come back to our system, we export it to the SIMAT application. We export it to the SIMAT application. But before we get to the forest, we also export what we have set up in the SIMAT into the handheld device. So that's what SIMAT does for us. SIMAT helps us for inventory. It helps us for cartography. That is it. Okay, now we have our camera trap. This one helps us for reconnaissance, do reconnaissance survey, and also for fauna inventory. Fauna inventory is we take stock of animals that are coming around the forest. Like we have some of the cocoa farms. Farmers will complain that their animals are coming into our farms to destroy our crops. So we now go with this camera to some of those farms and plant those cameras. We can plant something like this. But before we plant our cameras, we have to set up the camera. We have to set up all the parameters before we go into the field. We do not go into the field and start setting up the camera there. Why? Because when you go into the field, it's good that you just go and plant your camera and leave very fast. Because when you stay into the field, animals, they will send your odor. They will sense the environment that human beings are there. So they will not come around, and you will not have good you will not have a good report. So how we plant our camera is we go to a position where we can discover that maybe animals come around. They can come around maybe to drink water. So we can place our camera now. For example, we can place our camera like that. This is just an example of how we place our camera. But when we place our camera, we also take consideration of the sun, direction of the sun. We cannot place the camera facing the sun. So we always take a position where the sun is behind the camera or by the side of the camera. So that's how we set up our camera. And this camera now will snap. We can keep it there for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, only to get information of the animals that come around the place. So this is what we do when we are into conservation. This is what we do when we are into community development.